Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of Build-A-Figure. This is just a series where we check out custom head sculpts, outfit sets, we do kit bashes, you name it. But most importantly, we build figures. Today, we're doing a Predator special. We're not only going to be upgrading the classic Predator and turning him into the original Jungle Hunter from Predator 1, but we've got some pieces for the City Hunter from Predator 2 as well. All of this stuff was made by Fugitive Predator Customs on Insta. I have popped a link to his profile in the description below. I also want to say a massive thank you to George, the man behind Fugitive Predator Customs, for sending along this very comprehensive handwritten note explaining how to install absolutely everything. It's quite dense, so I am worried it's going to be a little bit challenging, but I'm sure it's going to be worth it in the end. Right off the bat, let's kick things off with the Severed King Willy head sculpt. This thing is straight up nasty. There's a severed stump underneath the neck, and that looks pretty real, wet and glossy. We also have some skin texture. His mouth is, of course, wide open. He's screaming. His eyes look like they're popping out of the sculpt. And the dreadlocks are made of some kind of material that's been wrapped around itself. All of the beads are real metal. This loop up top, made out of some of the dreads, is how you actually get the City Hunter to hold onto the sculpt. You loop his gripping hand around these dreadlocks. It does have a very handmade, almost rough quality about it, and I think that was the intended effect because back in the day, this would have been a practical prop for filming. It wouldn't have been CGI. To me, this reads as though this is a shrunk down 1/6 scale movie prop. If it was photorealistic, it would have looked cool. I don't think it would have been as accurate as this is. The City Hunter biomask looks sick, man. I mean, we've got the green oxidization over the metallic copper, a black wash, mesh for the eyes, 2 rubbery hoses, and the skin has been painted on the underside of these mandible connectors. Comparing it to the Hot Toys biomask, it's wider, and it's a little bit taller at the back. This, to me, looks way more accurate to the City Hunter. The Hot Toys one was just always far too skinny. A small upgrade, but a necessary one. His shoulder cannon / plasma caster has that green oxidization paint over the top, and look at that shine. I mean, it does come across as though this is made of metal. It isn't, it's cast out of plastic. There is still a substantial amount of weight to this piece for as small as it is. So these are little upgrades. We've got a leather knee and elbow tie, then a pouch, and a million little dread beads. This stuff is going to take a while to get right, so I'll be doing it off camera to make sure I install everything correctly. The bicep guard is pretty self-explanatory really. There's an elastic strap around the back, and it's made of a semi-flexible material, so sliding this over his arm should be quite straightforward. It's painted with a base layer of gunmetal, so there's a shine to it. Then there's a wash over the top, which just beautifully highlights all of this crazy sculpt work with the pitting and scratching on the surface. Dude, these, the necklace and the trophies, they're going to make a massive difference to the front of Pred because right now it is pretty blank. The spinal column does look like it's a real spinal column and the curve is baked in. This is not flexible, so it should lay perfectly. Then we have the mini skulls. Each one is a unique sculpt. We have washes over the top of this aged bone color. Then we've got the necklace with the little feet dangling off it. These are free floating, so you can adjust the position of them if you so choose. The final piece of the puzzle, the last upgrade part we're going to look at separately before we start installing everything. Jungle Hunter's biomask. This thing is dope. Compared to the official, it's bigger, it's wider, it's chonkier, and it looks way more screen accurate to me. The lenses are smaller, and they continue under the brow with the custom versus the official where that simply doesn't happen. The only thing that we're missing out on from the Hot Toys one is the light up effect for the targeting system. I'm okay with that. I never use that anyway. I don't even think it works anymore. But if I did want to give it a go, I can just pop the official mask back on. These rubbery hoses, which are supposed to be there, are missing from the official, but it does connect up in the same way as the Hot Toys Biomask, so no modifications are required to install this. The only thing that I'm not super sure about has to be the markings on the forehead and the nose. George assured me that this stuff is accurate and he showed me reference to prove it. I'm just not a fan of how prominent this is. If he had dialed them back a little, like added a layer of gunmetal paint over the top to dull it down a bit, I reckon it would have blended in more rather than sticking out as much as it does. Far be it for me to tell him how to paint stuff, just my personal preference would have been if this wasn't as prominent as it is. Now I'm repeating myself, you get what I'm trying to say. I don't get to showcase my Predator figures anywhere near often enough. I forget how freaking sick these things are. Let's do City Hunter first, because it's only really the King Willy head sculpt, his Biomask, and his Plasma Caster. The biggest upgrade is probably going to be the Biomask, if I had to guess. Then the Plasma Caster, because this teeny tiny little Hot Toys one is overdue for a bit of a size boost. This Biomask takes the figure to the next level. I already loved City Hunter. If you haven't seen my review, check it out. This figure is a beast. But the more serious, furrowed brow look to the mask, and the fact that it's wider, and the paint applications being as detailed as they are, yeah, I'm never going back to the stock Biomask. This has now found its permanent home on the City Hunter's body. There's not even a gap where this connects to the sculpt. The tolerances are so freaking tight. The Plasma Caster is significantly bigger and beefier as compared to this pancake, flat-looking chintzy Hot Toys one, so that's another piece that's never going to be put back on this body. It works in the exact same way as the official. It plugs onto the post and ball joint so you can move it round, or you can slide it back over his shoulder. You can probably use a different hand for this. The only reason I went with the combi stick holding hand is because he's been holding the combi stick for the longest time in my display. While this is quite gory and maybe a little bit gross, this is the Predator. He should be holding a trophy after all, and King Willy's head is a pretty darn good one at that. Am I going to display him with this? Potentially. I haven't decided yet. Let me know down in the comments below. Do you like the King Willy head sculpt in his hand, or should I go back to the combi stick? Can't believe I'm finally going to have an accurate Jungle Hunter on this 2.0 classic Predator body. I've been meaning to do it. It's taken me way too long. Finally, we're going to get this done. So worth it. It did take me a while to do this, granted, especially the beads. We'll discuss them in a minute. Everything else was quite intuitive. It just slid on or over his neck or around his arms, and with this being the end result, I'm over the moon with how he turned out. This is now my perfect 1/6 scale Jungle Hunter Predator. Out of the box, the third middle dread beads are missing. There's just the top ones and the bottom ones, which aren't really beads at all. They're just part of the same rubbery material for the dreads themselves. I haven't yet gone ahead and painted the stock ones, because the type of paint that I have, I'm worried will corrode this rubbery material over time. I have to get something a little bit safer, maybe water-based. Either way, the middle dread beads do make a big difference. George said they would, and he was 100% right. Once I have painted the other ones, this guy's going to look even better. I actually really dig these leather straps that you tie around his arms and legs because it just helps obscure the ugly visible joints. That wasn't the intended effect. The only reason they're here is for the sake of movie accuracy. It's a nice byproduct, I suppose. This bicep guard is free floating. You can move it up and down or left and right, depending on the pose. And George did a pretty decent job of matching the finish for the rest of the stock armor, so that from a distance, it doesn't jump out at you as being a custom piece. The pouch does just slot underneath the belt, and George recommended undoing this, then gluing the pouch in place. I didn't do that. I got a flat pry tool and I wedged the little excess pieces of fabric on the pouch underneath the belt, and that holds it in place just fine. The trophies and the necklace, they do make a big difference. but it's the biomask that gets me. The more accurate size and shape to it with the squinted eyes, and the fact that there's no unsightly gapping when you plug this in place. It looks like a stock thing that was always designed to be packaged with this figure in the box. This stuff being custom and being as high quality as it is, I know I've already said this about the City Hunter, but I want to reuse it for the Jungle Hunter, and yes, I am going to call him that from now on. This stuff just takes him to that next level. Wrapping up on another episode of Build-A-Figure. This is what it's all about for me, taking already great figures and elevating them with custom upgrade pieces. This isn't going to be for everyone, and I understand that. If you prefer the cleaner look for your classic Pred and you couldn't care less about Predator 1 and Jungle Hunter, just stick with that. But for me, I wanted movie accuracy, and taking what Hot Toys gave us, then installing George's upgrade kit, it did exactly what I was hoping it was going to. This is now my Jungle Hunter. I said it in the previous clip, I'm going to stick by that. That's exactly what I'm going to call him from now on, Jungle Hunter Pred. The upgrade set for City Hunter isn't as necessary in my opinion, but the biomask is. If you only pick up one thing from him for your City Hunter, grab that biomask, you are not going to regret it. Now, I do want to say a massive thank you to George over at Fugitive Predator Customs. Link to his Insta is in the description, of course, for thinking of me and sending me these parts and pieces so that I could make this video. If you are heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.